Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. First things first, I want to apologize that I didn't get a video out yesterday, but some stuff happened Monday evening into the night where I was under a lot of stress from a bunch of stuff going on IRL, and I just didn't have the opportunity to record. So since I wasn't able to record the night before, I wasn't able to have a video ready for the next day, and I'm sorry for that. But we are here today with another Hunter x Hunter review, and this time we're covering 4 episodes, episodes 65 through 68. I'm trying to kind of rush through the last little bit of Greed Island because we've only got 8 episodes. So between today and tomorrow, I'm trying to knock them all out. I'm going to take next week off from reviews so we can finally get into Chimera the following week. So starting off, where we left off is our, massive raid party now. Running into those pirates. And they basically ask the pirates to leave. The pirates say, well, the biggest pirate, Big Chungus in the background there, tells them that if they can force him out of this circle, then he will take them to their leader. And they can, try to get them to leave that way. One guy challenges them and immediately just gets destroyed. The guy tries to muscle this big dude out of the ring, and he just picks him up and literally holds him over this ring of fire and just burns his feet. And while the dude's screaming, Gon ends up kicking him in the face. But because Gon hit him and then landed outside the ring, it counted as a loss. Killua steps up and it's just like, bet I got this. He takes a bottle of alcohol, pours it over this dude, and then uses electricity to spark it. The dude goes nuts with his face on fire and runs out the ring right into a wall. The dude's mad because he just lost to a little kid, and he tries to rush Killua, and one of the other pirates literally kicks him in the face because he set the rules and he wouldn't abide by them. So since they lost, they get taken to meet Razor. They walk into what looks like a gymnasium, and it's just a bunch of people working out. And Razor, we already met when he kicked the Phantom Troop off the island. Razor offers them a competition. They enter into 8 athletic events, and if they can win it could end up being more than 8, but as soon as they get 8 wins, whoever gets 8 wins between the two teams will win. If they win, the pirates will all leave. If Razor's team wins, then they have to leave, and they have to come back with a different team. I guess 8 makes sense because that's the best of 15, and they had to show up with 15 people. So, first round we get is a boxing match. Guy on the left throws a bunch of jabs, a bunch of quick punches. Turns out he's an emitter, so he does like a bunch of crazy air nen punches, and all of a sudden he just drops. Turns out that his opponent was able to kind of make what looked like a spatial gateway and literally teleport his fist into the dude's chin. It was kind of crazy. Knocks him clean out. Immediately, Killua realizes that they're not going to win with the team they have. So, he talks to Gon, he talks to Biscuit, and they start throwing matches immediately. And the idea of it was, since they're not going to win, they're going to get as many ideas of the different sports they're going to compete in, so they can make a team that can actually win and come back. After they lose, their little band splits up. Most of them decide that since they need a team of 15, Genthu's never going to be able to get the Stripper Beach card. But they rather still win the card, just in the off chance he forces people to, work with him to get the card. They start looking through their player list to see who they know that, are strong, that can help them out. They start talking about Tezgera, but Killua sees in Gon's log of players that he's met. He sees the name. He remembers the name Crollu Silver was in there, and they decide to see who it actually is, and what the Phantom Troop's trying to do. They end up teleporting to his location using a company, and it turns out it's our boy Hisoka, butt ass naked, just chilling in a pond. They ask him what he's doing there, and he basically explains that he's actually looking for Crollo to tell him that there is a way to exercise the Nen from him. And it turns out, he's lying. They think he's trying to meet up with the Phantom Troop, but Killua, being the little detective wizard that he is, ends up figuring it all out, that he's lying and that he's obviously there looking for the Exorcist, because nothing he wants more than anything to fight Chrollo. And Killua ends up realizing that not only did he already meet the Phantom Troop, but the Exorcist must be on Greed Island. Even Biscuit could tell he was lying. They end up in like the City of Love, and they realize they're not going to get any help there. So they end up going through Hisoka's book to see if he's met anybody strong that can help them out. They look through his list, and he had Tezgera on his list, but Killua also wants to look at the list of players he's met to see if he's actually ran into the Phantom Troop. Hisoka, being the genius that he is, uses Texture Surprise to change all of the names, kind of throwing Killua off his scent. The episode ends with them using Hisoka's book to reach Tezgera and basically ask him for help. The next episode picks off with Gon and crew, now with Hisoka as well, meeting up with Tezgera's group, and they basically start, exchanging ideas, talking about the different sports and what they have to do to win the strip of beach. They decide to use, some other fill-in players that are trying to leave. In exchange for a leave card, they just have to show up with them so they can get access to the quest. Gon and Killua, now much stronger, decide to test Tezgera's group to make sure that they can help him out. Tezgera shows off his some of his net, a little bit of his net, what he can do with his net ability. He actually jumps like 20 feet in the air, mad easy. But they all end up preparing for about a week before they finally show up back at the gymnasium. They start competing, and they actually start winning. First guy wins a boxing match, they win a bowling game, they win a basketball match. Razor realizes that they actually have a solid team and tells the rest of his crew they can start throwing their matches because he's going to handle it. We don't know exactly what's going to happen yet, but he's ridiculously confident. Now, the big guy that Killua had beat in the sumo match gets pissed that Razor's telling them to forfeit. He's like, nah, I'm going to go kill this kid. He's like, I'm sick of listening to you. So he tries to get Killua to go outside and fight him. And he's just like, screw Razor, we don't need to listen to him. If we all just come up against him, then we'll win. Razor makes a ball of men and literally just takes this dude's dome right off. This was the first real show of power that we saw from Razor. I mean, obviously we saw him use a card to kick the whole entire Phantom Troop off. But he didn't look confident that he could beat them. But then he just blows this dude's head off and we saw a little bit of how strong that big dude was. It turns out that all these people are actually, convicts. That guy was actually a death row inmate, and he basically got an extension in his life by being a player, kind of an NPC in Greed Island. Just like Gon freaks out, asks him why he deserved to die, and he explains that this whole game actually takes place in the real world, so all his crimes were real. Gon ends up asking Razor about his dad, and Razor ends up realizing that Gon is Jing's son. Turns out Jing had told Razor that if his son came around to not hold back, give him everything you got. The one person who's kind of random on their team is Garenu. I almost forgot to mention him. He actually helps them out because as they start trying to get ready for this game they're going to play against Razor, which ends up being, the dodgeball game of the century. He tells them they have to have 8 players. A bunch of their players already competed, so they can't come into the game. And all these extra fill-in players that they had that were just to help them get the quest were just like, we're not doing it. So Garenu has the ability to summon 2 Nen Beasts, and they're going to end up going against Razor's team, which is Razor plus a bunch of his own Nen Beasts. So the team ends up being Gon, Killua, Biscuit, Hisoka, Tezgera, Garenu, and Garenu's 2 Nen Beasts versus Team Razor. And it starts off going pretty well. One thing. The rules are a little weird because they have to start off with 7 players in the court and 1 player outside the court. And the first person to run out of players inside the court loses, and one player can call back to get back in. They do a whole explanation of it. It did waste up a lot of time, which is the only thing I didn't like. I wanted them to kind of get into the action. But it starts off with Garenu actually taking out two of Razor's Nen Beasts immediately. And, his ape on the outside catches it. So he's able to pass them back the ball. Garenu tries to take Razor out, and Razor just, even with an Nen-infused ball, Razor just catches it one hand because he's apparently a beast. And he throws the ball so hard at Garenu that Garenu freaks out and swaps places with his Nen Beast, and his Nen Beast's body just shatters on contact with the ball. And because Garenu is now out, he can't come back into the game. But at least he survived. After Garenu gets basically forced out, now that they have a bunch of his Nen Beasts on the outside, they start passing the ball super fast, and I guess this was part of their plan. And using the speed of their passes, they're able to get Tezgera in the back. And Tezgera is only able to just block it with some Nen before, almost shattering his spine. They manage to get the ball back after Tezgera gets eliminated. Barely able to freaking stand. And they give the ball to Hisoka. Hisoka starts using his bungee gum to basically take guys out and get the ball back immediately. But Razor, being, a powerhouse, literally forces two of his Nen Beasts to combine into one, and they are now strong enough so that he can't pull the ball back. So he breaks off his bungee gum, and now Razor, gets to throw the ball again. And Razor's a monster, so Gon and Killua immediately activate their Ken. He throws the ball straight at Gon. Gon uses Ko on his hand and his head and manages to actually block the ball, but it shoots up into the ceiling and Gon gets sent flying back straight out of his shoes. It was crazy the way it looked. Gon ends up getting eliminated, but he wants to immediately get back in. He's saying, the next time I will stop this ball. Biscuit tells him, no, you can't. You're not using back until we're down to 2 players. But the episode ends with Gon basically getting blasted out of his shoes. The next episode starts up. Gon's getting patched up. They continue the game. Garenu's pissed, and he even says, I'm the type to hold a grudge. So they're allowed to throw the ball in from the outside. They just can't re-enter the court. So he gets the ball, and he tries to throw it. He throws it at one of his own Nen Beasts, his black gorilla. And it has the ability to swap places with somebody else. So it swaps places with Razor. He hits Razor square in the face with a Nen-infused ball. Well, one of his Nen Beasts literally picks up the other Nen Beast, throws it, he catches the ball, throws it back, and they end up hitting Garenu in the face when he's recovering. He's like, what the hell just happened? He ends up being knocked out cold, and his Nen Beast ends up disappearing because he's not awake to keep it manifest. Razor gets the ball back, and he throws it in a way where it goes at Killua. Killua dodges to the left, and the ball immediately curves on its own. I guess that was his plan. His plan was to try and take out Biscuit and Hisoka. Well, Killua ends up realizing that if he had dodged the other way, the ball would have killed him. Biscuit tries to dodge the ball. Hisoka manages to dodge it, but then a Nen Beast comes up on the other side, catches the ball, and throws it right at Hisoka's face. Hisoka manages to catch it, but he wasn't able to use Ko in time. He does activate his bungee gum, so the ball doesn't bounce off. He has the ball, but he breaks 2 of his fingers. As for Biscuit, she gets eliminated without actually getting to do anything, because I guess their clothes count as part of their body. It tears like a chunk out of the side of her dress, and because of that, she gets knocked out. Now we're down to just Killua and Hisoka, so Gon uses it back. Gon decides to use his special attack, and is going to use that to try and beat Razor. So he uses his Jockin Fist, and with Killua holding the ball, punches it with his Nen-infused punch, and the number 13 dude, which is the combination of 2 of his dudes, catches it, but gets forced out of bounds. So he takes him out. They get the ball back because catching the ball out of bounds is illegal. The next one, Gon decides to do it again, except this time he charges up with Ren. He makes a huge field. Killua holds the ball again. Gon hits it. Razor is forced to bump it because if he tries to catch it, he'll be forced out of the ring. So he bumps it up. He absorbs majority of the momentum, but manages to force it up. And Hisoka ends up using his bungee gum to pull it back. So because of that, Razor would have been out. So Razor calls back. Mind you, Razor is just Razor and one last Nen Beast. He's only got one left. Tezgera starts talking to his crew about what's going on, and he starts going, Tezgera's crew thinks that they're in the lead with 3-2, but he starts talking about their injuries. Gon did 2 powerful punches, blowing out a shitload of Nen, so he's probably exhausted. Hisoka broke a couple of fingers on his hand. He probably can't even throw the ball with his dominant hand. And Killua, he ends up talking about Killua and the fact that Killua used almost no Nen to protect his hands when Gon punched the ball. So he ends up calling a timeout, and he basically asks the ref, can one of the players from the inside come outside on their own? He basically tells Gon, come outside, punch the ball from my hands. I'll be able to protect my hands with a lightning fast coating of Nen, and you'll be able to get full momentum without hurting Killua anymore, because Killua, his hands must be destroyed. Well, Biscuit ends up pulling his hands out of his pocket, and this is what they look like. Disgusting. But Gon basically explains that he can't do it with anybody else. The only reason he can use his full power is because it's Killua holding the ball. Now, the way he explained it, at first I didn't get it, but it's the fact is just, it shows how much trust these two have. I mean, we've been watching them grow together this entire series, and now at the end of season 4, they're basically like brothers. He trusts Killua and Killua's strength. They've been training together since they met. He knows how strong Killua is. He knows what Killua can take, and only because Killua's holding the ball can he push himself to release his full strength. Like, he doesn't know if Biscuit can handle the ball if he ends up punching it. He doesn't know if Hisoka can do it. He can only do it because he knows it's Killua holding it. They end up agreeing. They just like, okay, we're gonna beat Razor 100%. Biscuit takes the ball. They start the game, and she makes a funny joke. She's like, I'm not good at throwing, but she throws the ball at Razor, and then it curves and hits the last guy in the leg and bounces off the ground, so he's out. But as he's falling, he manages to kick the ball back to Razor. So now Razor has the ball against Gon, Hisoka, and Killua, but it's just Razor. And that's where the episode ends. The episode ends with Gon telling Killua and Hisoka that he has a plan. So the next episode starts with Razor absorbing all his Nen Beasts into his own body. So now he's got all that dispersed aura back into himself. He focuses it all into his hand, into his legs, throws the ball up, holds the ball, and he's getting ready to throw it up. And he jumps up and he goes to spike it. You know, that downward angle, all that force, all that Nen he just pulled back. Gon, Killua, Hisoka, and they're coming up with a plan of their own to catch the ball. They combined. They make it sound like a really big deal, but it turns out it really was. The ball hits Gon's hands, and it forces the 3 of them back, but they manage to stop it, and they manage to get to the ball. We get a kind of lengthy breakdown of what actually happened. Turns out that Gon was using Ko on his hands to be able to catch the ball. Hisoka was reaching around them, using bungee gum on Gon's hands so that the ball wouldn't bounce off of Gon's hands. And then Killua was the most important part because he was acting as the cushion to catch the force while also bracing them so they wouldn't get knocked out of the ring or the court. So the 3 of them together were able to catch the ball. Now that they have the ball, Gon says one last punch, and he puts everything he has into it, and he ends up doing this. It's an even bigger, Nen aura than he had before. It's even got color to it. He forces all of his Nen into the punch, and he punches it with everything he's got. It flies at Razor. Razor knows he can't get out the way, knows he can't try to catch it, even with all his Nen back. He'll still get forced out of the ring at that speed. So he tries to bump it, but he tries to change the direction of the bump to back at Gon. Well, everybody's telling Gon, just get out the way, you'll win. And, Gon wouldn't get out the way. He wants to win straight up. He doesn't want to steal it by, getting out of the way. Oh, I guess I win by a technicality. But Gon passes out from all the Nen that he, forced into the punch. Well, Hisoka coming in clutch summons his bungee gum and catches the ball and uses the elastic properties of it to bounce it back with equal force. Razor goes to bounce it back again. He's like, I guess this is going to be an endurance match because it's still wrapped in bungee gum. Bungee gum is also sticky. So he forces the bungee gum to stick to Razor's hands so Razor can't bounce it back. And it forces Razor out of the court. And that's how they win. Gon comes to, and he's like, what happened? They explain it, and he's basically like, Hisoka clutched it for us. Hisoka ends up saying something kind of weird, and he's just like, we won because we worked together, so this was a team victory. And even Gon calls him out, telling him that he was out of character. Gon ends up talking to Razor. Razor ends up telling him that Gene is not there. We end up telling him a story about Gene and how they met, how Razor's actually a death row convict as well. But Gene hired him to basically take care of Greed Island. And that when his son showed up, to go full force on him. And he does. I didn't catch this the first time I watched this, but Razor destroyed his hand spiking that ball. That's how hard he hit that ball at Gon. Here's a shot of what it ended up looking like. Disgusting. Razor takes his pirates, they leave, and we get a scene of the NPC that started the quest telling them about the treasure that doesn't actually exist, that she tricked them to actually help get rid of the pirates. But she ends up looking out at the sunrise over the beach, and then she turns into the stripper beach card. As soon as they get the card, as soon as they leave, they get called by Genthru and crew. Turns out they were watching them the whole time. And they basically tell them, give us the card and we'll spare your lives. Obviously, Tezgera tries to argue with him, and then all of a sudden, he starts reading off names. Turns out Genthru went and killed every single person that was in their 15-man squad that went there the first time. All those people that gave them all their advice and helped them out, dead. Gon gets pissed off, immediately challenges Genthru to a fight, and Genthru just laughs at him because he's just, a kid throwing a tantrum. They end up saying, we'll come get your Alexandrite, make that number 75, after we deal with Tezgera. He tells Tezgera to meet him in an hour if they want to make a deal. If not, they're going to take the card by force. Hisoka had already left at this point. My mistake. He had left right after they got the Stripper Beach card. Turns out that he actually knew about cards the whole time, because he ends up mentioning that he would use Magnetic Force to get back to them if they needed help again. So Killer was like, oh shit. After, the argument with Genthru, we get a shot of Hisoka, and he gets contacted by Finks from the Phantom Troop, telling him basically that they found the Exorcist, and they were going to find him, or going to meet him, and, Hisoka's coming with. It goes back to Tezgera talking to Gon and Killua, and basically explaining how Gon's an idiot for trying to challenge Genthru right there. Like, if Genthru had attacked, what was Killua going to do with his destroyed hands? Killua could get hurt, and he was just because Gon wasn't thinking. Tezgera decides that they're going to help Gon and his team, and that they're going to distract Genthru as long as possible. Garenu ends up wanting to help. Obviously, the whole point is to stop Genthru from winning the game. They tell Gon that they can probably buy 1 to 3 weeks, but if they do, that they want his Alexandrite card, the same card that Genthru wants, because they're not trying to form an alliance; they're still trying to win, trying to beat the game. So they decide, Gon is going to train for 3 weeks. Kilo is going to focus on recovering and strategizing, and the episode ends with them splitting off. These guys going to Masador to get more spell cards, and Gon's team going to train. And that is 4 episodes covered, guys. Honestly, it was so action-packed. I know it was a volleyball game, but it was probably one of the coolest fight we've had in a while. Like, Razor is a monster, and I would actually love to have seen him get to fight. And I don't know what he is. Like, he uses an emitter technique when he takes off the big dude's head. He uses conjuring when he summons his Nen beasts. And he enhances his physical abilities when he starts attacking and blocking the ball. So it's like, what Nen type is this guy? Overall, they were good episodes, but now we're going into the climax where it's going to end up being Gon versus Genthru. And honestly, I'll say my opinion for when we actually get to those 4 episodes. But I hope you guys enjoy this review, and I will catch you on the next episode. Later.